What's going on, everybody? It's FREEDO here for Your Overwatch. We half expected Moira to go onto the live servers today. That may have happened, or if not, in a few days. We're thinking it's likely to be soon. So in preparation for that, if you haven't had the opportunity to play her on the PTR, wanted to make a tips video on the cool techniques that I've learned so that you can hit the ground running whenever Moira drops. Moira is a ton of fun to play as a very active and interactive support character, and a big percentage of maximizing her impact is by really being crafty with the abilities that she has at her disposal. Let's look at this defensive situation that I find myself in here. The enemy is pushing the cart with a bit of numbers advantage. I'm staying safe from the enemy. I'm a support after all. And all the while in the back of my mind, I'm thinking of escape paths to use my fade to run to. We get caught up in a grab, and between my healing orb and my main heal, I keep my Reinhardt alive through all of this. Now, you might say you normally may want to fade out of a grab immediately, but seeing as I knew that there wasn't any immediate threats that I could tell, I hold on to my fade in case that follow-up does come, because if there's a Doomfist ult, self-destruct, pulse bomb, whatever, being able to pop that shift in response to damage coming in will keep you alive. Also, popping my orb down in such a way that it bounces allows it to hang around healing longer. This is going to be a key technique that I think you can quickly pick up to maximize the value of these orbs. Allowing it to have some travel distance down and then upward again means that its time on contact healing your team is longer than if you just shot it straight out in front of you. It could be even better if you could bounce it on a nearby wall for it to come back at you again. The other thing that keeps me alive here is knowing how to take defensive angles. When I fade out, I'm trying to keep my Rein in the action and put myself at a safe angle and allow him to be the bait, and I can keep putting my healing resources to protect him, and the enemy really struggle to burst him down in time, and my respawns come back and we hold. This is the basic gameplay loop of getting a lot of value out of Moira. You can even use fade to bait aggression onto you, and I really think you should think about using it in order to dodge abilities actively, because if they send something at you and whiff it, it's like a net gain for your team, almost no matter what it is. The other major tip that I think you'll run into immediately is managing her main heal. On pretty much every healer in the game, they have a sustained heal that they always can keep on, but Moira is not like that. Instead, view the resources of Moira's main attack just as you would like a Zarya bubble or a Lucio amp it up. These are abilities that you have to use at the exact right time or they don't get value. If Zarya is bubbling when there's no damage around, well, she's not getting charged and it's not doing anything. Same thing with Moira. You only want to be healing your team when there's actually damage to be healing. Because there's also another effect with your main heal beam is that when your teammates feel like they're getting healed, they have like an expectation of being healed. So if you don't have a lot of the healing resource, you don't want to give the tank on your team the false impression that it's okay to go gung-ho because he's got a pocket on him. So use it more to top them off and burst them when it matters, rather than trying to heal every bit of damage all the time. You don't have enough resources to do that, but if you manage it and think of your main heal being your orb and only bursting these impacts when they matter, you're going to get a lot more value out of Moira's healing, rather than if you're trying to hold the beam on your team at all times like you might do with Mercy. Moira's ultimate often can be used aggressively, but because the damage is so low, I think more times than not, you're going to want to utilize it when your team is being aggressive to both heal them and hopefully do some damage through some barriers. Using it just to siege a barrier isn't really good enough. You kind of need your team in front of you in order to absorb some of that healing ray in order to make it really powerful. Because once it's doing both things at once, that's when it starts to look really good. Another point about her ultimate, I think you'll find that you'll charge it the fastest when you're burst healing multiple targets on your team. So anytime that you can set up for your orb or your primary attack to hit multiple of your teammates, that's where you're going to see some insane ultimate charge rate times. I believe I get my ult in about 30 seconds here, and it's not even the most efficient way you could envision this happening. If my team was more clumped together, I could have built this even faster, and this might seem like it's a bit overpowered, but I kind of don't think it is, because prior to this, especially in matchmaking, there really wasn't a great answer to dealing with choke spam. Well, there was Diva Defense Matrix being 4 seconds. That used to be the trump card to all that. But now this is kind of the healing option to really punish an aggressive spam-heavy defense from just sieging a bunch of damage at the choke. If the enemy want to do that and you death ball and absorb it all, in those scenarios, Moira's going to have a massive advantage because you're going to build your support ult far before any of the enemy ults have been built, which is going to mean that the defensive choke spam playstyle is going to get a big nerf when Moira comes out, assuming that this aspect of her play remains the same. Her primary drain attack has an incredibly long range, and there's not really a cost for you to just hold down the fire button on this. So really you can just keep the button pressed down if you have nothing else to do and try to find a bit of damage somewhere. Whereas your healing and your orb ability, you're going to have to think about a bit more carefully since you won't have them as often. My team's kind of struggling a bit to take this last point on King's Row, but one thing that I like about Moira quite a bit is that I feel like she really rewards intelligent support play, because if you just stay safe from damage angles and you always have this fade, the enemy is forced to deal with the rest of your team. You're the undivable support in this way. But at the same time, you can start to see a bit of a weakness in that the strength of the healing for Moira is a bit specific, whereas Ana more easily could just stand far back and do tons more healing. I have to try to kind of burst it at the right time, and if I miss the mark, well, my teammate dies. I could stay alive, but really good Moira play requires that you get those orbs on point. More often than not, you're going to want to hold on to them for healing, just in case that you run out of your main heal resource. Also, it's pretty powerful to bait the enemy to try to attack something, then pop the orb and your main heal, and it's just tons of healing per second at one time. It's really strong. My last major tip is just mechanically being able to use her primary attack. Her healing beam starts to angle as you strafe, so be sure to realize that the heal doesn't always perfectly line up to where your crosshair is. It starts to veer off if you strafe, so pay attention to where the gold beam is and try to keep that on the target and adjust for that when you're strafing and running around. In this way, as you're strafing, you want to be aiming the beam, not so much your crosshair, because although the beam will eventually get to your crosshair, there's these small little windows of when you strafe that it's going to throw the beam off. Conversely, her drain attack is pretty much just pixel perfect, straight on, so you track that just normally at the center of mass like you would a Zarya beam. Well, I hope these tips were useful for getting yourself started playing Moira. If you're a support player like myself, I think you'll find she can be a blast to play, very mechanically satisfying, and you feel like you're wielding some serious power when you're playing Moira. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. It really does help us out and lets us know that you're enjoying the content. If you haven't already, please subscribe because we upload each and every day, so you're going to want to hit the bell icon so that you get notified when our videos go live. Linked in the description is our Twitter, where we tweet out news, updates, and dank memes. That's been it for me. I've been FREEDO for Your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.